All right. Hey, guys, welcome again. Just a quick presentation, a quick hitter session here tonight, discussing three-person mechanics for basketball officiating. Use the chat version for your questions. Submit those if you have any as we go along. We'll check that periodically and pause so we can try to get in and out here in efficient time for you as well tonight. So with that, we're going to get started with the three-person on the game administrative duties on the front end. Of course, it probably goes without saying the communication with your partners, make sure you're all set up and ready to rock and roll on the front end once you get there and have your discussions through your coverage areas for when you get on the floor. But once you walk out onto the floor, you'll see our pregame duties. You have the referee at half court. The U1 is observing the home team, and the U2 will be observing the visiting team. The 13-minute mark, I should preface, we're talking just as a normal year here with this recording. Obviously, we know with it being COVID this year, we're a little bit different, but we're going to pretend it's a normal year. So at 13-minute mark, officials will walk over. The respective U1, U2 will get their respective coaches, bring them to center court, have a pregame meeting with the head coaches, verify everyone's legal, ready to rock and roll, and then the referee will check the game ball and check the book, make sure everything is in there correctly. Some more administrative stuff with our timeouts is showing our positioning. The lead in the upper left-hand corner there is standing where the ball will be inbounded. The C and the T are on the blocks for full timeouts. And for 30-second timeouts, it's showing here that when we have a throwing spot in front of the bench, they want us to be in line with each other. So you'll see the throwing official is the trail. He's standing way across on the other side of the free throw lane line, even with the C in the lead. And then for 30-second timeouts, should be the next one. Top of the key for the non-inbounding official, and then the lead again in the upper left is where the ball will be thrown. Same thing as before with full timeouts. The inbounding official will stand in line with the other officials. And this is just for when the throw-in is right in front of the bench, so you're not over there in the way, so they're allowed to have their time for their timeouts.
Tristan, one item of note, if we go back to this slide, if we need to talk as a crew, we don't want to talk out in the middle of the court. We want to go to where the ball is, okay? So if the ball is here, that's where we want to have a conversation, with a little quickie quiz, how many timeouts are left, AP arrow, end of game situation. If you feel that you're too close to the team, sure, I'm going to scoot away a little bit, but we want the C and the T to go to the lead in this situation. Back to you, T.
And with that too is, just correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't want us to be setting the ball on the floor either. They want us to be holding on to it.
Correct.
That allows, and one of the reasons for doing that, it allows a coach, if they're trying to set up a play in a end of half or a tight game situation, they can look at you quick and you can give them the inbounds location. That's another reason for having our little conference where the inbound spot is. And then halftime, make sure we wait halfway between the center jump circle and the far sideline on the opposite of the table. Go over, make sure, walk over, make sure the arrow is correct and everything matches up with the book, and then exit at halftime together as well. All right, jump ball. After the introductions and the national anthem, it shows a referee straight across. U1, they want going down to the opposite block, and the U2 to the other block on their side. And then our starting positions for the U1 is table side 28-foot mark, and for the U2 it's 28-foot mark opposite across from the table for the jump ball. Now, some of our responsibilities for the jump ball, once the players come out, obviously we're looking for our equipment issues, and this year face masks as well, but our U2 is responsible for the non-jumpers. Make sure that everyone is getting set and staying off of the circle prior to the jump. The U1 checks the table, make sure that they don't have any last minute issues before we throw the ball in the air. And then the referee will step in and hit his whistle and instruct the players which direction we're going. One thing I really like to do is I just use my voice and I share with them, all right, pick a spot, get set. As we know, if they're within 3 feet of the semicircle, they can't be moving once that referee steps in to jump the ball up. So make sure that you just are a little more patient of the referee before you throw the ball in the air so we don't have any movement. It's always great to get a game started off on the right foot without a violation. Anything I missed there, Jared?
Looking good.
Okay, and then we talked about our starting position. Here it's showing us if the ball goes left, the referee will go over and take the U1's position. And then conversely, if the ball goes the other direction, the referee is going to take the U2's position. One thing here the referee would be responsible for is make sure that arrow is set and pointing in the right direction. Pretty easy to do when you're going to take the U1's position. You're running right towards the table. But sometimes you have to be reminded to remind yourself to look over your shoulder and make sure it's going the right direction before we get too far in the game. I wouldn't hesitate either after that first possession if the arrow for some reason isn't correct or if it is missed, I would go ahead and fix it immediately. I wouldn't wait till our first jump ball because heck, it could be 5 minutes later before you have that first jump ball.
Tristan, with a couple things here. I got one in the chat that came to me. I'm gonna clarify that. And of course, I don't even have my rule book in front of me right now, so we might have to have someone else look that up. The question is, when we have the center jump, now this is 2-person or 3-person, and we have people that are, and we have players that are around the circle. We can move off the circle at any time, but we can't move around the circle. Is that the rule? I believe that's the rule.
Yeah, it sounds correct. I was just trying to bring it up quick as we're looking here. Non-jumpers must not move onto the center restraining circle or change position around it once the official is ready until the ball is tossed.
Okay, so they can't move on, they can't move positions around it, but they could move away from it.
Let's see, we're under rule 6.3 here. I believe you're correct. I'm just trying to find it. So if someone has it, they can just throw it in the chat quick. Until the toss ball is touched by one or both jumpers, non-jumpers must not break a plane around the center restraining circle or take a position in any occupied space, which we already touched base on. So
yeah, so with that stated, they could move away from the circle. You know, they could back straight up. You know, let's say that they want to back up 7 feet. I mean, go for it.
Yeah, run away.
Yep.
Whatever you got to do.
Hopefully that cleared up the question in the chat. So at Eric Contoon, let me know if that clears it up. The one thing I'll say here too on the opening jump, when you're the tosser, when you're the referee, you are always going to go to trail. You're either going to go to trail as we go towards the right as we look in, or as we are looking at the screen, or you're going to go to trail towards the left. So if you just remember that you're going to trail, you know, that's key.
Yeah, and don't be in a hurry to get to that trail position because sometimes you're better off just to freeze. Especially there's been times where I've gotten tangled up in the mess. Just let the players go around you, then circle around behind them and fill in.
All right, we'll go to our next slide. I'll take this one. I would have court boundary lines and then our basic setup. Okay, so this is a half court set, obviously. Your lines, the lead is going to have the baseline. Okay, that's their only line. The trail is going to have the sideline and the division line, and then they would also have the end line down off the screen. Your center is going to have the sideline. Now the center can help with the division line. They can have an opinion, but ultimately it's the trail. Just like in 2-person, if the ball would go out of bounds and the lead doesn't know, because sometimes that'll happen over in this area because the lead is watching off ball and they might not see the ball, that's fine. They still have to whistle it. So they're going to whistle, they're going to go up, they're going to stop clock, and then they're going to go right to the C. help, and then the C can come with the direction. Home base of positions. When we get set up in a 3-person set, lead, center, trail, the lead is must set up 3 to 4 feet out of bounds, similar to 2-person lead. The setup position is closed down, which is maybe even a step in from where the diagram is at. I mean, you can start out a little bit wider like this, a diagram, but this is your setup position. This is your home base, if you will. Home base for center is free throw line extended and standing at the out of bounds line. I like to either stand out of bounds or my toes are on the out of bounds line. So then I know if I get hit with the ball, doesn't matter, it's going to be out of bounds. Now, I'm going to try not to get hit, but we are off the court more in 3-person than in 2-person when we're on the court more. The trail home base, that's going to be at your 28-foot mark. Okay, and we'll talk about movement here in just a little bit, but these are your home bases. Close down, trail, 28-foot, center, free throw line extended. We go on to the next diagram. Now this one's critical, okay? So your center, now let's start with the trail. My trail is going to have the 3-point line all the way around to the far lane line. So we're taking this lane line and we're extending it all the way up towards half court. So they're gonna have the far lane line. The center is gonna have, that would be called their near lane line. So their near lane line, and then you have 50% of the lane. So when the ball is in this area, that's going to be the center's ball, and the lead is going to be looking at off ball, and the trail will as well. If the ball is in the trails area, the lead is looking at off ball, the center is looking at off ball. And then the same if the ball would be in the leads area, so the lead is primary on the ball, the center and the trail should be working off ball. Let's go on to another one.
I was just going to jump in there just for a second with those lines of intersection. You'll hear people call that. That's a great thing to pregame, especially for the C and the T. Make sure that you're talking about, are we going to have a greedy trail, etc. General rule of thumb is if the ball starts in your area, you stick with it until something changes. So if a dribble would start in the trails area, right, we're up near the top of the key there, and dribble towards the C, of course, if you have a closely guarded count, you have to stay with that. There's been times when I've started a count up on the top of the key and he's dribbled all the way around the 3-point line right past in front of the C. That's still the trail's count because the C does not know when that when that closely guarded count started. So again, these are all our baseline and our guidelines. Just know that that line that's between the C and the T, just like in 2-person for our free throw lane line extended, we can have that a step or two on one side or the other, just as long as we're all on the same page with it. But again, that general rule of thumb is if it starts in the C's area or the T's area, they stick with it. And if we would have a foul or something.
Okay. Let's go. Oh, this is 3-point responsibilities. The center is going to have the 3-point shot around into that near lane line. Trail is going to have near lane line all the way around to the baseline. Now I know it shows that the lead's coming all the way out to the 3-point line, okay? But the trail is going to own that 3-point line. So even if there's a player straddling that 3-point line, we want the trail to take that because we want to keep our lead inside. If you mark a 3, then you need to bring shooter up and down and see the box out. It's no different than in 2-person. If we would get a double mark between center and trail, what I like to pregame is that both the center and the trail keep their mark up in the air, but we're going to default to the trail. I want to get my center into the rebounding. So their eyes should go there. The trail will bring the shooter up, down, a clear foul, and then see the box out. And so make, the center and the trail will mirror each other on the successful 3. The lead rarely, very rarely will show a successful 3.
Correct. And
Tristan,
then,
anything else?
yeah, well, the only thing, since we're on 3-point coverage, it's several slides down before they get into the only rare exceptions when the lead will signal a 3-point try, and that's quite typically in a transition type set where it's a fast break going down to the other end, and only the lead is down there by himself, and that trail is still way back in the backcourt. So that's the exception when the lead might signal a 3-point attempt in the game.
And if the lead would do that, lead, see the shooter up, see the shooter down, see the shooter clear a foul, and see the box out before you transition to off ball. A lot of partner trust when you're working 3-person. I mean, even more so than 2-person because you got an added body out there. Now a double whistle. So here we have the line of intersect, and we call them double whistles. Once in a while in 3-person, you're going to have a double whistle. We very rarely will have a triple whistle, but once in a while it does happen right in the middle of the paint. So the key is we want to slow down. We need to communicate our signal. So our center, our trail, if we would have a foul right here, if they both fist it, they need to communicate who's going to take it. Now, usually it's the primary official. Okay, so if the play was over here, where I have my mouse, and it went over and it didn't clearly get over into the center's area, it's going to be the trail's call to take. Now, if it clearly makes it over here into the center's area and the trail pops on that, and the center pops, the center should be taking that because it's their primary. You know, once again, I mean, just like in 2-person, you're going to want to work those primary whistles out. You know, the key is if we have a block charge situation, is that we're, you know, posting and not showing right away until you give it up. I mean, a classic case is we got a train wreck down here. It should be the lead's whistle, but let's say that the center gets involved. Okay. Most of the time our leads are showy, which means they're going to pop and either punch or pop and go block. If the outside officials can post and hold, and we'll keep ourselves out of the soup of a blarge. Tristan, anything else you want to talk about handling double whistles?
No,
a lot of it applies with 2-person.
Yeah, it does. The next one gets us back into more of the pass crash, even on some other double stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
So pass crash in the lane, everybody's favorite friend. We have these happen probably once, twice a game, quite often, the way the game has changed. But for 3-person, it's nice. We got an extra set of eyes out there. So if the crash happens in the lane and the ball goes out to the trails area, the trail takes the ball, the C and the lead would stay with the crash. And if the pass would go to the C's area, of course, the C takes the pass, and the lead and the trail would help out in the crash. And then probably the one that for sure we want to pregame, not only this one, but all 3 of them, but is when the pass goes to the lead area, is the lead going to take the ball or is he going to stay with the crash? And why do I say that? Well, if the pass goes way out to the corner of the lead's area by the 3-point line, that should most likely be the trail's ball, so the lead can stay in on the crash. But now if we have a pass that's dumped right down into the low post on that low block, that's something we're going to want to pregame on the lead side there, because he's got a bunch going on right in front of him, where the C is probably going to have to be pretty strong on that crash from the backside. So just another topic that is important to pregame, not only in 2-person, but especially in 3 as well. Rebounding areas, you'll see that they overlap here. Again, that extra set of eyes, and Jared kind of talked about it earlier, just in our basic half-court set and our base home positions, that we want to know our primary coverage areas on rebounding. General rule of thumb is to let our C and our trail be strong in the rebounding area, and the lead gets involved, of course, but If we have a good game from our C and our trail being involved on rebounding action, we're going to have a good game together as a crew. Now, with that, the lead's going to see that front side stuff. They're going to be seeing a clamp on the front side towards the end line that the C or the T might not see. But again, you can see our overlapping areas there with the darker shaded areas where our rebounding coverage is at. Anything else on that rebounding stuff, Jared?
Well, the biggest thing with rebounding, now they've got a bunch of slides here, but the biggest thing is cover your area on your side of the floor. That's your primary. So the center is taken over to about 50% of the basket and back towards the center. The trail's a little bit wider view because they're a little bit higher. And then we have the lead. Now we're obviously going to have some lap over, but that's your primary. Your secondary coverage would be an angle that opens up to the C on the opposite block that your lead and your trail may be screened on. That would be a secondary coverage. But if you can just, keep in mind that primary is on your side, secondary is okay to go and get, but make sure that you give, lead and trail, first crack. And the same thing for trail. Their secondary would be this post. We want to give center a crack before we come. So what we're talking there is having a cadence whistle. And if you've never heard that term, it means a patient whistle. Okay, so the trail wants the center to crack first. If the center does it, if the center doesn't, and the trail really wants it, then come with a late whistle. So.
And the last thing I'd say on that is if you have double whistles on rebounding between a lead and either a C or a T, allow your outside official to take that to the table.
But we're going to cruise through these reboundings because we got more important stuff to talk about. Not saying that rebounding's not. Stay near the sideline. Now, this is a good rule of thumb if you're going back and forth between 2 and 3, like a lot of us do. With my 2-person, our trail is much more active on the floor. I'm not saying that you can't be on the floor in 3-person, but you're going to hug that sideline a little bit more. Maybe it's a step or two, and then you're back towards the sideline. Center for sure, you're going to be on that sideline. Maybe a step and a half to come onto the floor, but you're never going to be out here on the 3-point line. Don't bail out on a try. Okay, this applies to 2-person, it applies to 3-person. We need that trail engaged. That trail at a minimum needs to be at the 28-foot mark, maybe a step down, maybe a step up, maybe a step and a half up, maybe a step and a half down. It all depends upon the angle that they're trying to gain from a rebounding angle. So it's key that we have trail and center engaged. Yes, the trail can get beat down the court in 3-person. It happens. Okay, even with the fastest of fast officials, it happens. Referee this play. Don't worry about this play down here. Okay, I see way too many officials, thinking they're going to get beat. When you're going to that close down, because here they're showing it, center, remember it's free throw line extended is your home base. When I go to close down, if I'm at free throw line extended, it may be a half of a step. It might not even be a step. I might just hold my ground right there. Trail, maybe a step if I'm at the 28-foot mark, but I don't want to go all the way down to where my mouse is because now I'm too low and I have almost the same angle as my C because my C is going to have one angle. I'm going to have another angle. Center, I've seen some center officials get as low as a darn block on rebounding. That's too low because now you're walking off your angle.
We talked about this one. Yeah, we talked about this one earlier, and I think the biggest thing here is they got the lead way too wide on this illustration. That lead needs to be in quite a ways. Yep. It would never be that wide as a lead in a delay offense. You had touched base on this earlier, Jared, on our boundaries. Just shows now the trail has the full back end line and the whole sideline.
Yep.
I can go ahead and take this. Backcourt, no pressure. They're just telling us here that when it's just one-on-one, the trail's all by himself. General rule of thumb is if we have 4 people in the backcourt, the trail probably can handle that by themselves. If we get any more than 4, the center then needs to be down, helping bring that ball up the floor, just to help out with any type of a hold or a screen, any of that stuff as we're taking the ball out of bounds and coming from backcourt to front court. And here you can see on that inbounds, the C is still pretty much, like Jared said, you might take a half a step from the home position in the front court set, and then we turn around and have a full court press. You're probably not even taking a step or two. You might stay right where you're at to help out to get the ball inbounded for the backcourt throw in.
And the C, what I like to try and do, even if there's not backcourt pressure, before I break and go from free throw line to free throw line, I want to see that ball be thrown in on a clean inbounds. I see way too many C's saying, shoot, I got to get down the court. No, the hell you do. Okay. Just stay there, officiate, see that pass. Now that pass goes in. Okay. Now it's just a count because there's just one dribbler coming up. C, a cruise on down to free throw line. Okay. So, I mean, here it's different because we have backcourt pressure, obviously. And those of you that have worked 3-person, you love it when you can be C opposite the coaches going free throw line to free throw line for about 10 minutes and a half. That's what I like to do. Doesn't always work that way.
If you wouldn't blow the whistle so much, you'd probably be all right. You could handle it.
That's right.
All right. Last second shots. Again, just not only a pregame item, just as a reminder, it's the official that's opposite the table. But as we're getting close and the time is winding down, you'll have a range. Some people will say 10 seconds or under, some will say under 20. Just make sure that you're pointing or tapping your chest to know that you are opposite and you have the last second shot responsibilities. Now you might have a quick turnover. That might also, you might allow your lead to flex over to the C side in the A diagram there. I'm sorry, I got it backwards. No, I don't. If the lead was to come over onto the C side for a last second shot, that's down somewhere in the low block or something. He's just coming to get a look at that play to see if there's a foul, but it's still the C's responsibility to count or cancel that goal. And then I guess
the trail.
Sorry. And then one last thing too, and there's been times that don't be afraid to use your table personnel to help you out on last second shots, especially if it's tight or it's not a common place that you would do it, but just know that they are part of the officiating crew that you might have to ask them if some will have a sliver of doubt.
All right, so let's slide in. Tristan, do we have anything in the chat?
No.
Okay, so let's get into the meat and the potatoes of rotation. So a couple of terms if you've never worked 3-person. A rotation is during a live ball when the lead changes position, the center changes position, or the trail changes position. That's called a rotation. A switch is during dead ball, and that's when an official would change a position during dead ball. They have a foul, they're going to go to a different position. So rotation and switch, you'll hear a lot of people say the term rotation because they're talking about live ball movement. So 95% of the movement is going to be started with the lead. Okay. So the basic premise of 3-person is that the lead and the trail are working ball side. If the ball is over on the center side, we got to get the center some help. That's the basic premise of 3-person officiating. When I've seen crews that work 3-person, and I'll see it once in a great while, but I'll see a crew work 3-person and they never have a rotation, meaning they never have a movement of people during a live ball. You are stuffing the heck out of your center when they've got the ball in their lap. That's not how 3-person's supposed to be. Be active as the lead. We don't have a shot clock in high school basketball. You may have 3, 4, 5 rotations in a really slowed down offense. That's fine. So the way that this works is that the lead is in close down, okay? Wide angle is going to be about right where my mouse is, maybe a little bit further out. They're going to mirror the ball. So if the ball is right here, that's about where the lead's going to be. If the ball is here, that's where the lead's going to be. If the ball is in the paint, they're going to be in close down. If the ball gets passed over to center, I'm going to pinch the paint, which means I'm going to take a step into the paint. Now I'm going to step and I'm going to hold for a little brief while, like a couple seconds. And then I'm either going to rotate, or if that ball gets reversed, I'm just going to back on out to close down, which is where the diagram's at, or I could go wide angle if that ball gets shifted over here. But your basic movements are wide angle, close down, and then when you pinch the paint, that means you're taking a step into the lane. When you go to rotate, we are going to look at our old primary. So our old primary is right where I'm circling right here. So I start to walk, maybe at a brisk pace, at an accelerated pace, and I look back to my old primary until I'm all the way over to the other closed down spot. Now, if there's nobody here, I mean, don't ref air. So then I want to get my eyes to a matchup. So the idea is that the lead rotates over here, and then the center is here still. The trail steps down to center, which is down to free throw line extended. Now you have 2 C's for a little bit. Eventually, when the play is right and when the center feels it to be appropriate, we'll back on out to the 28-foot mark. So once again, lead runs the show. They start to go. They get all the way over. Trail sees that they went. They go down, and the center backs out. Now you have lead, trail, and center. Yeah, Tristan, anything to add?
Just one thing with the lead as you're transitioning from the close down or pinch the paint position going across the lane. I had heard it before, is like Jared said, don't officiate error. So it can be a matter of a split second. Work that the free throw line and the lane lines as a U. So you're looking in your previous area at that low post. You're going up the lane line to the free throw line, across the free throw line, and then back down to where the 2 number 5s are. And that can all happen in a matter of a split second or a half a second as you're walking across. So start on the opposite bottom post, up to the free throw lane, across the lane line, and then back down to the 5 with your eyes as you're walking across the lane line.
But Tristan, yeah, you're working lead. Give me some indicators when you would rotate.
Well, one probably of the main indicators is our post play. So if we have those 2 number 5s, we're over where the original lead was, and you see them, yep, in that area and going across to the other side at the same time as that ball is getting skipped over to the number 4. That's going to be one of our main indicators to signal us to put our antenna up that we might need to get to close down or pinch the paint position immediately. And then as soon as that ball is over to 4 and you have post play, that would be our cue to get our butts over there, so we're ready to officiate that play or potential play that might be coming up.
Okay. I'll throw a couple of little gadgets in there. If you think you should have rotated, you're too late. Once again, if you think you should have rotated, you should be already moving them. Okay. we can always start a rotation, and I get underneath the basket. Heck, I get where the arrow is, and a shot goes up, I back on out. You should back on out, because otherwise you're slamming your C, because now your C has to get all the way down the floor. Also, if we would have a quick drive, all of a sudden, if the ball's here and they're going to take it right to the hole, I don't want to be standing right in the middle of the lane. If I see a quick drive coming and I can't get over to this position to officiate it, I'm just going to back on up. Well, Tristan, we got a couple things in the chat if you want to clean those up.
Yeah, I think they might have been sent just to you because I don't have anything on mine.
Got it. Just a second here.
You covered it, Jared. I was asking if there's hints when you should not rotate or if you should back out after you started a rotation. You hit it. If a drive starts, you don't want to be caught in the middle of the lane. So thank you.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Well, let's move on because we'll get some more slides. We can get some more what covered. So here is exactly that. So they're calling this the quicksand. So remember what I said, we can pinch the paint and come in here for a little bit, trying to get a look, or maybe to start that rotation, but you don't want to be standing in that lane. So this lead right here, that's in close down. They started to rotate, shot goes up, they just back on out, just like I said.
Hey, did you mention earlier that the rotation isn't complete until the old C becomes the trail? Did you mention that?
I did not.
Okay. Yeah, so this at the rotation isn't considered complete until the lead has come over, the C is slid down, and then our old C has become the new T to finish our rotation.
All right, so here they're talking about wide angle. I'm maybe not quite that wide. I would maybe move this in one little gadget. That's going to be my wide angle. Trails at 28 foot, centers at free throw line extended. Here's the close down position. We talked about that. Movement toward the sideline. So here's a case in point where we want to shadow the ball a little bit. Now, we're not going to go all the way out to the 3-point because we know that the trail has primary on this, but I'm going to kick out to what I would call my wide angle, which is about right where my mouse is at. Now, if that ball starts to rotate towards the top of the key, I'm right back to close down. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, they're talking about moving that lead. Now, see how they have the lead like backing up at an angle? I want to get my 3 to 4 feet off of the baseline, and I just want to move in a straight line. So I'm constantly staying parallel to the baseline. I'm not like going at an angle. I don't like how they have that diagram there.
Agreed. There's that help on a 3-point in transition we mentioned earlier on a 3-point coverage. Just where the lead would signal a 3-pointer.
Okay, now this is focused a little bit more on the center position, and we've talked about some of this, but some nice diagrams to go. What home base is at free throw line extended. A step or two, that's about where you're going to be. Now, you're probably not going to stay down that low for too long. I'm at the free throw line position probably 85% of the time, but if I need to gain an angle on a play, I will step 1.5 steps, 2 at the max, and then the same thing going up. I'm never going higher than the top of the key.
Now that illustration there quickly shows going straight up and down. Don't be afraid to work a little bit of an arc or an angle there too. You can come a half a step to a step towards the middle of the court as a C when you're coming towards the division line. Don't feel like you have to go completely parallel with the sideline. You can come out a step or so too.
Yeah, good point. But moving on to the court. Now we're going to hug that sideline quite a bit as center, but you can see here it's overloaded, and we've got our lead and our trail. I think that the lead's a little wide. I'd put the lead about right there, but the center can take a step onto the court. I wouldn't get all the way to the 3-point line, but take a step onto the court. You just stay a little bit better engaged in the play. And the center would be looking at the 5s right here. They're probably going to be looking at the 1s right here as well. The lead is going to be looking at the 4s. The center could help with the fours. The trail is on the threes, but the lead's probably going to have an opinion on the twos, and the trail needs to also help with the twos. So that's where your eyes would be. Well, open angles. So for me, this is a tricky one. If I stay with free throw line extended, I'm looking right through the back of number 2. Now this applies to 2-person and 3-person as well. So you got to do something with this play. You got to either take a step and a half down to cut the angle back, or I got to take a step and a half up to cut the angle here. And for me, when I'm dealt this play, I will go down more times than I'll go up. If I'm going to default, I'm going to take a step or 2 down. Now that ball gets rotated, I just back right up to free throw line extended. Here, as this play starts to take off, I'm taking a step onto the court. Now I have a nice look right between those players as they go. You know, once again, it's angles. It's just like 2-person. Here they're talking that the C is too high. Okay, a good rule of thumb in 3-person, we can have 2 Cs. We can have a C here, and that trail can be low and almost be a second C. It's okay to have 2 Cs. It's not okay to have 2 Ts. Help out of bounds. Ball goes out of bounds right here. We talked about this one already. Lead is watching all of this garbage here. Lead's going to whistle, but center is going to probably have a pretty good opinion. Yeah, right there they show that errant pass. Okay. The spin move. Okay, the center has a nice look into the lane. They can really help with the 3 seconds in the lane. They can help with the spin move. We have a lot of those mid-range jumpers right in the middle of the lane, and the center has great looks in, much better than trail, who's coming in at an angle, and lead, who's coming in at an angle. Tristan, you got the trail position.
Yeah, I was just going to say, kind of rule of thumb on those up there for that C helping out on some of those jump shots is the lead, even though it might be in his area, if you look where the ball is on this illustration, he might be stacked on that, i.e. he might have bodies between him and the in that shot. So the C ultimately, again, another pregame item, is going to have a great look at those shots. Don't be afraid to come in and help your crew out and be a crew saver there if you're the C and see the kid get hit on the arm during his shot attempt.
So here's something to sort of tie into what Tristan's saying, and this applies to 2-person. Know the angle of your crew. Okay, so know the angle of your partner or partners. That's going to help you out in determining if you should blow or not. If I know the angle of my lead and what they can see on the play, they might not be able to see, okay, that hit on the elbow, which is closest to me. Now, just something to think about. Trail, all you, T.
All right, trail. Again, kind of we're used to our 2-person working a lot bigger arc here in the 3-person. Our arc is not going to be as big, and you can see here just from that illustration that if we're too close to the play, our view gets, well, they're using the word distorted, but don't be afraid to back away. Obviously, we're better officials with a wider angle than we are when we're right on top of a play. We've all had those type of plays, or you will have those type of plays where it happens right in front of you and people are thinking that you should be able to see it. Well, it happens so quick that we're not able to process the whole play when you're right on top of it. So the officials on this illustration, an outside in look, again, it's just showing them being a little bit further off the ball. It's better to be on top of it looking back in, because that allows you to keep all 10 players in your peripheral view versus if you kind of opposite to what Jared said on the C, where he steps down towards the end line, the trail can kind of go maybe a step towards the half court line. You're going to get a better look from the outside in. And then the inside outlook is where you come onto the floor, where you can look through those players. if we have to take a step to get an angle, you got to go to where you can see between the players.
Now with this play right here, if this ball gets stolen and they're screaming down the sideline as trail, just freeze and let these two players go, spin around and chase them. That's fine. You're not going to get caught up in the wash. I love this look because if I'm over here on the sideline, I'm stacked. I don't have a look. I really probably shouldn't be quite this low, especially in a 3-person set as a trail. So that inside out look, I love this look.
I haven't seen this one before. What is this one talking about?
Well, it's talking about movement on a jump shot. So the jump shot is coming from the ones. That's going to be the trails. So the trail needs to position themselves between the shooter and the defender. They need to mark the 3, and they need to see the shooter up, down, and see the box out. And sometimes we forget about seeing the box out. This applies to 2-person as well. If you've got shot, see shooter up, see shooter down, clear a foul, see the box out to make sure that that shooter doesn't get displaced and end up on their can.
And we touched base on this earlier here where ball's in the leads area. He's on ball primary. It's just, again, just reinforcing the fact of the importance of the trail to get into the middle of the lane and look at the off ball. Like the number 4s down in the post there, that's going to be a trails call all the way because 3's going to be contested, and they might be trying to do that entry pass into that low post. And the only person that's going to be able to see a hold possibly on the inside is the trail. Now, that cadence whistle that we mentioned earlier, a C might have a look at that and might be a crew saver. But again, we talk about make it a big one if you're going to go get that. That's clearly missed by the trail. So they're just reminding us here to really focus on that low post play where the 4 and the 5s are for the trail when it's in the leads area.
Tristan, talk about some clues, some indicators that lead can give to trail that they're on ball.
Yeah, so opening up your hips or taking a step towards your shoulders, opening your shoulders up, I guess is maybe a better way to say it, towards where the number 3s are, versus if you're not looking at the ball and you might be in a step or 2, your shoulders might be facing more towards the number 4s that you see here. So basically an indicator for the lead to say I got the ball is to open up or square up with the 3s here, their shoulders.
And then the lead can also put on a quick count because they're closer than 6 feet. If the lead puts on a count, we know that they're primary on the ball. Okay, restricted area arc. We've been through this. Rotations. Here's what we want. So take a look at what's going on here. We have the lead starts on the left side of the basket. So they're at close down. They're going to, they're wide angle going to close down. And the trails out here, they rotate on over because the pass goes past that lane line. You can see the dots here and it settles. So it's not a skip pass. It's not here and then boom, right back. It settles. And, like Tristan said, if you got a post player, one thing I take a look at is I take a look at my defense. If my defense is set up in a zone, I'm going to be a little bit slower to rotate because they're going to have some skip passes in there. But if my defense is in a man-to-man, I'm going to probably rotate pretty quick just because they're not going to have as many skip passes. In a zone, if they start to overload onto one side of the floor, and the game I was working last night, 3-person, they were overloading quite a bit. I mean, they're sending 4, sometimes even 5 players to the opposite side of the floor with my center. I got to go immediately because they're trying to develop some kind of a play with a point wing, maybe a baseline 3-point. with a post, a pass, what you name it.
Yeah, and with that, we're also going to throw, as the game goes along, we're going to realize what kind of offense they're running. If they're winging the ball back and forth, ping ponging it, our lead isn't going to ping pong from one side to the other, but they might get into a pinch the paint position and then it zips right back to your side. You just step out, as we talked about earlier. We kind of touched base on this here earlier, Jared, on when to rotate. If you want to keep moving along here. We had already talked about that. This is the one that I don't think we covered yet. As to, you said 95% of the rotations are initiated by the lead. This would maybe be the other 4 or 5% where a C is going to initiate a rotation. And as you can see from this diagram here, the ball's getting trapped, or the number ones are getting trapped right up near half court. The center needs to recognize that and go immediately. And then just as importantly as that, the lead needs to recognize that the center left his home position to go and officiate that trap near the division line. And the lead comes over, and then simply the T is going to slide down on the backside to the C home position.
Very good.
Is it important for that T to slide down right away? If you've got players in both corners near the midcourt, you may want to hang up a little higher there, right?
Yeah, I would say that, it's not like you need to get straight down to where the C position is. That's a great point, Jim.
Okay.
Be there to help your partner out, because he's sitting with a bowl of soup in his lap and he needs a little help there. So
Yeah, if you've got 6 players out near the division line, you might want to hang up higher and help
correct.
your T there.
Yeah. Up maybe probably about the top of the 3-point line, even somewhere
Right.
up in there.
Right. Yep. Thanks,
Yep.
T.
You bet. Kind of what Jared said earlier, go where you can officiate the play and help out your partners.
And when that C starts this rotation, and I mean, ultimately the lead still needs to rotate, make sure that the ball is in the front court, okay? Because that confuses people when we start to have a rotation and the ball is still in the back court. Let's say that the trap is happening right here. Okay, don't rotate yet. Let the C and the T work that as normal. Now we get in where the ball is come into the front court. Now that's when the C could start things, and then we have to have the lead recognize. If the lead doesn't recognize, well, then once the C gets done, they just go right back down to their natural position. So.
Right, and coming from the backcourt, if it's still in the backcourt, the C might not even be in his home position yet. He might still be hanging out top of the 3-point line. Rule of thumb is, if you as a C can help out your trail bringing that ball up, I do it quite often. I straddle the division line because I can help my trail out with a backcourt violation if that ball would quickly get passed to that trap location, and then for some reason they make a mistake or an errant pass and we have an over and back. A C can help out with those type of plays as well.
All right, so in this one here, what they're talking about, a pass from 1 to 2 and then a pass down to 3. So the ball's going to settle. Lead's going to rotate over. C needs to stay on this play and not give it up too soon, because lead's still in rotation. Lead's looking back at 4s and 5s. Lead gets over here to close down. Now lead may open up, and probably should open up, to take this play. But center, don't give up that play so quick, because sometimes we see the lead coming out of the corner of our eye and it's like, okay, I'm off that. That's about, with that, about that time, someone takes off that guy's, arm, and we got to get that foul. Here, the lead has rotated. Now they're over here. Now they're taking the play. Trail slides down, and then the center slides up. Started but not complete. We've talked about this. A shot goes up. If you want to piss off a partner, okay, you just keep rotating here, and now you slammed your C. So what that means is now the center has to go all the way down to lead. Don't do that if I'm working with you, please. It's a joke, by the way. Partners don't pick up. What do we got going here? Ball moving back court to front court. Oh, okay. So the lead rotates over. And now the ball is moving from the backcourt to the front court. So there's a rebound, let's say. Okay, so this is going to happen more on a missed shot than anything. There's a rebound. The lead going to trail, you are the final check. Do a quick glance to make sure your center is there and your lead is down, and you know that you have to correct it. Sprint across the floor, get on over here, and nobody will ever know. Now, when you're heading down the floor, if you're here and you see that this person is lead and you know your C is there, and then you know that everyone picked up the rotation, you know, but sometimes this happens with a late rotation and that you just have to balance the court. Even with veterans, that happens. Heck, I saw it in a Division I men's college basketball game last week on TV. Transitions. Back court to front court. So what they're looking at here is that there was a skip pass. The pass goes. So now that leads on the rotation, and the trail's going down to center, and then the center's going back up to trail. So what they're saying is that this is a little quicker rotation because we went pretty quick from the back court into that half court set. Don't bail out after the ball. Yeah, stay put. We mentioned that. This is ball going to the front court.
Got one question in the chat if you want to keep continuing down. Cover
Go ahead.
Throw-ins next. But Lee is just asking if we could talk a little bit about when to talk over primary. His example is allowing the C to continue with the ball matchup until the status of the ball changes. For instance, a dribble drive, he picks up the ball or puts out or pulls out from the drive to take over the primary. Not talk over primary. Lee, can you just jump on quick to clarify your question quick? If you're there. I'm just trying to just go through it here. I assume he's talking half court set, right? When the C has coverage of the play.
I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, it was a question of, we talk over in pregame a lot when there's a situation. There was a couple of slides or a couple of images before this where the dribble drive comes from C and the lead hasn't rotated yet. So the dribble drive occurs and let C take that if they would go all the way to the hole. But if the dribble drive stops or picks up the ball or he pulls it back out and now the lead has rotated, that would be the time when the lead should take over, say, closely guarded, or take over the matchup and let C back out into the new trail. Correct?
Jared, you got that?
Well, I think so. So let me just sort of talk through it, Lee, and we'll see if I can get this. So if we would have a drive coming from center towards the basket, and it's a primary matchup, we want the center to take that all the way to the hole. Okay, so we're going to call a block. We're going to call a charge. We're going to have a hit on the arm. We're going to have a no call. Center's play. We get the drive coming from center. We got primary matchup. Primary gets beat. Lead needs to own the secondary. Okay, the center will make a foul call on the primary, but the lead needs to take over the a secondary foul if we got a block, a charge, a no call, so forth. If the ball carrier comes into the paint and reverses direction and starts to back out or starts to curl, okay, it's still going to be the center. But now if that play is curling towards the lead and the trail, the lead and the trail need to pick that up because they're curling away from the center. And now the trail and the lead are picking that up. And the reverse of that is that if we would have a play with the lead and the trail and it's curling away, so they're looking at the back, now it's opening up to the C, then they would have to take that. Lee, did I answer that somewhat or not really?
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of, we oftentimes have situations where the status of the ball changes and then we have either two people continuing or starting a count, or so who should take over and when, and that's what I was trying to get at. So like if
Okay.
if the ball is picked up and the drive is started from the C, but now the lead is rotated and the lead assumes the matchup and C is backing out rather than C staying with it, quote unquote. So that status of the ball changes. If he's still dribbling and he's going to do that C or the spin move or whatever, C still has that. But if he would pick the ball up and now we'd have two sets of eyes on the ball, for instance. So when does that converge? And that's a good thing to talk about, is that if the status of the ball, i.e. dribble to held or dribble to pull back out, and now there's just a dribbling matchup with no aggression, the status of the ball might dictate who takes the ball / matchup. In that, like I said, it was 2 or 3 image mechanigrams prior to this where it showed that, where the seed doesn't, or the lead doesn't rotate quite as quickly as, you would maybe, no, it was after that. It was later.
Well, okay. If we would take, I'm okay. So let's just use this as like a half court set. So we have lead, trail, center. So if the ball carrier starts here and dribbles in and comes back out, they're still in center's primary. So it's still theirs. Now there's a close defensive matchup. It's still close. There's a count on. It's still centers. Now the ball is clearly into the trails primary coverage area, and there's a change in status. As you say, the ball's picked up. Now it needs to be the trails play at that point. But if there's a change in status here, it's still going to be the centers because it's still in their primary coverage area.
Yep, and if you're talking about closely guarded or non-closely guarded, right, then we would just switch our, change our count with one hand to the other, right?
Right,
Signifying that we have a change in the status.
as the center. Now, okay, let's say that we have a drive from trail going in and it gets stuffed, blocked, whatever. The ball gets picked up. Now it's coming back out. There's a count. There's a count. There's a count. There's a change in status right here. Okay, now the player picks up the ball, doesn't know what to do. That's still the trails because it's at the top of the key. So then the trail would switch arms and keep counting. But let's say here they dribble, counts on, because we're 6 foot, counts on, counts on, counts on, counts on. We're at 4.5. Boom, a change in status right there. The ball's picked up. Center needs to see that. Center needs to pick up the action and start winning the count. Lee, does that help? All right, let's go on here, Tristan.
Okay. Move on to the throw-ins on 172, Jared. Cover that.
172, I'm getting there right there.
Okay, we'll just talk about our different areas for our throw-ins. So mechanogram A, you see that the ball's in the trails area, so they're going to be responsible for, I think that's what they're showing here, half court set, aren't they? Yeah.
Yep.
Where the T is going to be administering the throw-in there. Then when we look at B in the middle, lead just has to recognize that the ball went out in the C's area. He's going to slide over. The lead will slide over on the baseline or end line. The C slides up, becomes the T for the inbound, and then the trail would slide down. And then for number C there, letter C, the lead just crosses over the lane. C slides up to become the T, and the T would slide down and become the new C. on those inbound plays.
So the center would never put the ball in play. That's a rule of thumb. The center never puts the ball in play because it's going back to our basic premise of 3-person. We need to have our lead trail on ball side. So when the ball is coming in bounds, we're dead ball going to live ball. That is established as the strong side, and the ball side, that's where lead and trail need to be.
Yeah, this is just another illustration of a throw-in location, right, for the lead. I had one last night where the ball went out of bounds outside of the 3-point line as a lead, and I simply just stood on the lane line side of the inbounder. So if you look at letter B, just like they're showing there, that's what I had that last night. Great place to be because that allows you to go from there towards the closed down position if they do an entry pass, depending on how they're set up into the low post. This year, of course, we're bouncing everything, but in a normal year, they say just to bounce on the sideline and in the backcourt. They don't ever want us to bounce the ball and inbound on the front court end line throw-in, as you see on the bottom there of this page.
Here's something from a mechanic standpoint, both 2-person and 3-person. And yeah, some crews I've worked with have done it right, and there's been a couple crews that haven't done it right. When I'm in the front court and I'm the lead, I know it says no bounce, but we can bounce, okay, just like T said. We need to have a whistle from lead. Whistle from lead when it's front court and you're staying there. And then the trail in 3-person would chop time, or in 2-person, still a whistle, and then the trail would chop my chop time over here. So it's always a whistle in the front court. I'm a backcourt throw-in. I'm a ball moving backcourt to front court. So if the ball is put in play right here, well, then the trail is going to be here. But if it's put in over here, we want to force, that would actually be a switch because it's dead ball. We want to force that because we do not want to bounce the ball across the lane in high school. In college women's and some other codes, you can. I wish you could in high school, but that's not what they want. If the ball needs to go in at that spot, you need to move your body over here, and then your center is going to recognize, go lead, and then this, and then this official will become center over there.
Does that still apply even in our COVID protocols, Jared? Don't bounce it across the lane in the backcourt?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Now this one is wrong, and we've talked about this already, that for the throw-in spot, it needs to include the key. So that's wrong. Reporting and switching of fouls. So this is important, and this is probably our last big topic here to talk through, is whenever you call a foul, whether you're shooting or not shooting, you're going to become table side. You're either table side C or you're table side lead. So here we got a run-of-the-mill foul. We are not shooting, and the lead calls it. The lead comes up to their reporting area. They show the foul, and then they go to C. And the lead and the C switch. The trail does nothing. They observe players.
We do need to emphasize that this is only in a front court set. If we had a foul that would go the other end, then there are situations where you don't stay table side. Just wanted to make sure we had that clear.
And one thing that I like to think of with front court fouls is that if we have all 3 officials switching positions, because remember, this is dead ball, so we call it a switch. If we have all 3 officials switching, we're not doing it exactly the right way. We should only have 2 officials switch. But the key here is that once you get done reporting, and if you go on over here and someone's already there, either I'm gonna kick them in the shorts and tell them to get out of there, or you're gonna fill in with the empty spot. But when you report, you're always going table side. Let's go on down to this one. Table side lead calls foul, no free throws. So lead calls foul, they come on up, report, go down to the next slide, and then they're just gonna bump back and be trail. So the trail switched with the lead, and then the center stays put. So see how we had two switch, one stays, and then you're either trail or center. You're always table side. My lead opposite calls foul, no free throw. So lead's gonna go up, the center's gonna go down, just like you see here. We're not gonna run through players. Report foul, slide on over to center. Center bumps down, trail observes. Table side, center calls foul, no free throws. So someone was posting up and they got jacked in the back by the defense. Boom, my center has a call in their, I'm in their primary coverage area. They're gonna turn, go on out here to where the mouse is, show the foul, and go right back. Now this one is nice and quick because the only person that has to move is the center. What do we got here? We've got,
Just what you had talked about.
yep, okay. Center opposite calls foul, no free throws. Center's gonna come on over, report, trail's gonna flip with center. The lead's gonna have to swing on over, and you see it right there. Center reports, trail comes on over, lead goes just like that. And when I'm going on over, especially if I saw just a hint of the foul, I'll tell my center, hey, good call, because I'll be passing them. Table side, trail calls foul, no free throws. Same thing, they call the foul. We're gonna put the ball in play on the out of bounds, looks like. They're gonna report, and then away we go. Trail trail opposite calls foul, no free throws. So it looks like we're gonna put the throw-in spot right here. So they need to switch with the center because we want to be table side. So remember, at the most, you're going to have two people switching, and whenever you call a foul, you want to be table side, either center or trail. Lead calls foul, they're going to switch with trail. Once again, there's no free throws. Lead opposite, they give you all the scenarios here. Calls foul, the center is going to rotate down, the trail holds and freezes. Table side, center calls foul. They're just going to turn and show it, and now they're going to become trail because the ball is going to be inbounded.
And these are with free throws now, Jared, just so you know.
Oh, they are with free throws. Oh,
Yep.
shoot.
Well, you're
Thank you.
fine. It's all applies the same. You just got to know our free throw coverage in 3-person.
So our free throws, when you're the calling official, you're always going to become trail. So if I'm the lead on free throw, or if I'm the lead calling a foul and we're shooting two, or the trail, or even the center, I'm always going to become trail. So I would report the foul, and then we're getting ready for the free throws. Free throws here, foul, these two are going to flip, and then you would shoot the free throws. So it's essentially the same, if you will. A table side, trail calls foul, free throws, boom, right there. And the lead and the center are just going to hold their positions. And that's what they show right there. Trail opposite calls fouls, free throw. We're going to have a little switcheroo here because this trail needs to go on over, report, and stay table side. What do we got here? Table side lead calls foul on offense. No free throws. Is this the long switch?
This is the long switch. Yep. This is where they want us to do the long switch.
So in some codes, you won't switch here, but what they want to do, and I'm talking the state high school league here. This isn't even federation, I don't believe. This is all from the MI. Is they want to keep it consistent, meaning that we are going to have my two officials switch. So the lead calls like a rebounding foul, and now we're going opposite. They're going to come on out, report the foul, and slide down, and then this trail is going to inbound.
Well, virtually they're going from the lead to the lead position in that
Yep.
situation.
Lead opposite calls foul on offense, no free throws, so they're going to call a foul. They're going to report and then go down to C. This is a lot of monkeying around here, but you know, that's what they want. Table side center calls foul on offense, no free throws. So they're gonna show the foul, and then they're gonna fly down the court. And this would be a classic bump and run here, because then the lead's gonna come around. They're gonna inbound the ball for trail. How many more of these we got, Tristan?
Couple more.
Okay. A center opposite calls foul on offense, no free throws, so they call the foul. And then they're going to report and then slide into lead. And this is another bump and run. At the end of the day, before you put the ball in, you want to make sure that you have your triangle. And what I mean by the triangle is that you have a trail, you have a center, you have a lead. If you connect the dots, it's a triangle.
And I think that's a good one just to show that the situation where you don't go table side, right? That's this one time when you can come out, report it, and then stay opposite the table.
Right.
And they continue on for a little bit further. I know if you get down to 205, Jared, that's where we talk about free throw coverage for 3-person. That we can touch base on that before we wrap it up here.
Go ahead.
So our free throw coverage in 3-person, the lead is going to be administering all the all the free throws from the lane area. The C, as you can see here, is responsible for the free throw shooter and any other violations, and then the opposite 3 on the other side. And then the lead is responsible for the opposite 3 people in the lane area opposite. So if we can just remember that we're responsible for the members opposite of us, that is our primary. Good topic there is pregame topic is make sure you pregame rebounding coverage on free throws as well. And then with the final position there, the trail, they're responsible for, as you can see, the 3 players up on top of the 3-point line for anyone going over the free throw line extended to 3-point area before the ball would hit the ring. So our primary things for the center is to make sure that the free throw shooter does not cross the free throw line before the ball hits the ring. And for the center, they also have to look for our number 3 and the 2 5s stepping into the lane prematurely. And our lead is responsible again for those 3 opposite for stepping in early. If a defensive player or a non-shooting member steps in early, we give the delayed dead ball signal, which is our arm straight out with a fist out to the side. If the free throw is successful, we just drop it and continue with additional free throws, or if that's the last one, then it's an inbound. If it is a missed free throw and we have a violation on the non-shooting or defensive team, then we would blow our whistle and re-administer that free throw. What else did I miss there, Jared, on free throw coverage?
I think you got it.
Okay.
I think we should open it up to Q&A from the group here.
Sounds good.
What kind of questions do you folks have? That was a quick shot through the MI on 3-person. You know, our next phase of this would be to pull some video and to, you know, watch video and, you know, see some rotations live. But, you know, that's a quick once over. I mean, once again, I would really, especially if you're a little bit newer to 3-person or starting to learn it, I would really look at that MI, go through each one of those diagrams, and then you get yourself out on the court and give it a whirl and try. So, questions?
Jeremy, you're looking good there, buddy. Yeah, there we
You
go.
look
Got a
really
smile out
relaxed,
of him.
man. That's awesome.
Got a smile. That's good.
Tristan, go ahead and I'm gonna close this off then for tonight.
Hey guys, I appreciate you giving us a little bit of time, and hopefully you at least grab something out of this. Like Jared said, the next step of doing this would be just grabbing some plays, and I think that's a great place for us to learn as well. So you got your MI book in front of you. Use it as a resource, and don't be afraid to share with others any of the unusual situations you might be experiencing. And feel free to reach out to me via email or to Jared, copy us, whatever, if you got any other questions after this. That's all I got, Jared.
Tristan, you got this is Joe Plunder. Just have a question here.
Go ahead, big guy.
I obviously coming back after a hiatus here, I've worked mostly 2-man, and obviously 3-man's a little bit intimidating at this point for myself. Is there going to be more opportunity for 3-person, or is it really going to be, we're going to stay to the 2-person? What's the future look like? Is this something that we're going to really expect everybody to be proficient at? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, Jared's kind of smirking there. He knows a lot about it. But yeah, to that point,
you got, Joe.
Yeah. To that point, yes, we are going to be, that's the whole goal, Joe, is to transition towards 3-person. Now,
Okay.
There's so many variables involved in that, right? Number of officials, number of games, and the sort. But yes, anytime you have an opportunity to observe 3-person, go out and work take all those opportunities that you can, because that will be the wave of the future. So maybe by the time I get a few more years under my belt, I might be able to go an extra year or 2. So Jared, speak to that if you got anything else quick on that topic.
Yeah, my 3-person, Joe, is, I guess I would call it the standard for basketball officiating, even at the high school varsity level. A 3-person is the standard. I feel that in southeastern Minnesota, for whatever reason, we are behind that standard. I feel that there's too much 2-person. And there's a number of reasons, like Tristan said, but it comes back to our numbers. I mean, we just don't have enough numbers. Now, the Big 9 is all 3-person. Stewartville, Byron, Lourdes, and Casson-Manorville in the HVL this year are all 3-person. My goal, and I'm going to work on this in the off season, my goal is to try and get the HVL to go all 3-person next year. That's my goal, both boys and girls. Okay. The 3 Rivers, a number of schools have 3-person on select games. Okay. They'll take a look at their schedule. They feel it's a higher caliber matchup, both boys and girls, and they'll put 3-person on it. The Southeast, a little bit. The Southeast Conference is mainly 2. The Gopher Conference is mainly 2. Once in a while, 3 here and there. Section playoffs are predominantly 3. We may see some 2-person this year from a cost savings standpoint due to COVID, section, so forth. But by and large, Joe, your playoffs on a normal year are all 3-person, regardless of level, regardless of class, gender. It's 3 from 1A all the way through 4A. So that sort of gives you a little shot. The last thing is, Joe, is that I'd throw in a little plug for our camp. Myself, Jeremy Zacher, and MJ Wagonson run a camp down at St. Mary's University in the middle of July. We have a high school camp on one day. We have a college women's camp on the other day. We have classroom, and then we put you out on the court. We have observers. I'm gonna film you on at least one of your games. So hopefully we can do that camp again in July of 21. We had to cancel July of 20 due to the pandemic. So,
And it's very affordable compared to other camps, which is a nice thing. You guys do it on the cheap.
thanks.
Well, that's
Jim.
great. That's great, guys. I can only speak from a referee or an umpire perspective. We only do 3-person really in the playoffs. And, if you don't do them enough, then the rotations can be really, fuzzy or it's intimidating period. So, I can speak if we can get some opportunities just to kind of practice it, like the camp itself. I'm very much in favor of that. So that's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah, and just one thing on that, Joe, is, you know, when you have those opportunities, just still go out and just officiate the game first and allow the 3-person stuff to come as it comes. Don't get so worried about just standing in the right spot or, you know, positioning stuff. Just allow it to happen and it'll come in time. So I appreciate you joining us. Good to have
That's
you back.
great. Yeah, thank you.
Jared, I think we're done unless anyone else got anything else. Let's wrap it up.
Okay, have a great night, everyone. Stay tuned with Arbiter Blocks. We still have lots of games moving around. I mean, it's crazy with the COVID. I received about another 5 or 6 emails while I was on this Zoom, and I still have some assignments to get out. Even for this Saturday, still trying to fill Friday, still trying to fill some stuff next week, and then we got the next 2 weeks coming, and things are really starting to stack up. I just hope we can get to the end of the season and we're still playing basketball and we still have healthy officials, because we're all going to get tested here a little bit down the stretch. So stay healthy. Have a good night.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, JB. Thanks, Tristan.